Okay, so welcome back to another live stream. As you guys can tell from the title, today we will be talking about Demna's latest Gucci collection. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Before I go on, let me know if you guys have seen the show. I mean, the show happened quite a while ago now, so I'm sure a lot of you have thoughts on the collection. But if you have any opening thoughts, I like to react to your opening thoughts before I get into my hour long, 2 hour long, 3 hour long soliloquy, if we can call it that. Um, so essentially, in a nutshell, this Gucci collection is really just a continuation of what we've seen from Demna. Let me just make myself smaller so you can see the full thing. So as you can see from the show notes on the Gucci page, they have literally said that this is the fourth series in what is a series of, the fourth act of the character study by Demna. So we've seen with all the different Gucci collections, the first collection, he was looking at different characters of people that are make up the Gucci world and the Gucci universe and the different customers and how they dress and what kind of personalities they have. You had the same one that was more, the next collection that was more in the realm of Tom Ford. Then you had the third collection, which was looking at mainly Italian and quite specifically Milanese archetypes of how people dress, how people wear streetwear in Milan, how people wear Gucci in Milan. You had the whole conversation about Miranza and its political significance. That was definitely a thing. And then you have the fourth act, which of course is this collection, GucciCore Resort 2027, which is essentially a character study on the typical Gucci customer in New York, or just a character study on the way that New Yorkers in general dress. So yeah, I think it goes without saying. I think it was also very interesting that Demna decided to choose Times Square as the backdrop of this collection. It's quite funny. So on YouTube, Gucci released this GucciCore campaign. And what this campaign is supposed to signify, I have it on the screen for you guys. Essentially, it's a bunch of adverts. Some of them are real Gucci products, some of them are not, that essentially are supposed to be all these different adverts that are going to be dotted around during the Gucci show, which is essentially a commentary on capitalism and all the different products that you're sold at Times Square, a place where there is a big, significant footfall. So lots of people see those adverts. So he kind of wanted to play around in that way and kind of have a commentary on capitalism. We've seen that from Demna a trillion times, whether that's, a Balenciaga show at a New York Stock Exchange or a Balenciaga show right in front of the Hollywood sign where you have celebrities walking on the runway and holding Erewhon bags and Erewhon coffee cups. So he likes to do all these different commentaries on capitalism. Everyone always poses those questions, how genuine is it coming from Demna when he works at a brand that is essentially at the height of luxury both times, whether we're talking about Gucci or Balenciaga, and they sort of exist and take advantage of a lot of the things that he criticizes. So yeah, that was fascinating. There's also a historical angle when it comes to this show being in New York. We've also started to see a lot of these cruise collections in New York. We saw Dior have their show in LA. It makes a lot of sense. China as a market is almost like it's reached this peak. And while Asia as a region is still the most important market for luxury fashion, when it comes to a single country, America, the United States of America, is probably the most important country, if not top three. The top three most important countries in terms of luxury are Japan, China, and the USA. So they are starting to realize that maybe they neglected the USA a lot because they were just thinking about Asia the whole time. And now that the Asian market is slowing down, we are going to start seeing, at least I believe, a lot more luxury brands looking towards the USA once again. So that's why we're seeing these cruise collections. Now, in the world of Gucci, it makes a lot of sense because the first Gucci store officially outside of Italy was actually in New York in 1953. They said that in the show notes. So essentially, this GucciCore collection serves as somewhat of a homecoming for the brand. And it being staged in Times Square is just like homecoming on steroids, essentially. Um, so that was kind of the whole vibe of it. Let me see what you guys are saying. The bottle low key looking like liquor bottle. Oh, you mean the bottle of water, the Gucci Aqua thing? Watched it twice, couldn't tell a single through line. No, there's definitely a through line with Demna's work for 100%. It's just about characters. He's just essentially using Gucci as a backdrop to make a commentary about the different kinds of people that wear Gucci, the way that different people wear Gucci in different regions of the world, the way that different customers, depending on geography, dress. That's essentially what Demna's whole stick at Gucci is. He's done that 4 collections in a row. And he's probably going to do that in the next collection. Who knows? The next collection might be somewhere. It's probably going to be in Milan, isn't it? So I don't know what other character thing he could do unless it's in Japan. And then it's a character study on the way that Japanese people wear Gucci. But if it's in Milan again, which it probably will be, I'm curious to see what other conversation he can have in terms of Gucci characters. Not a fan of the AI usage, but it's the future and I gotta get used to it. Yeah, that is an annoying thing that a lot of these luxury brands are using AI when they, more than anyone else, are supposed to be the people that, are supposed to be promoting real art and actual artists, you know what I mean? Like human artists. Here they have some AI Gucci car. This was funny because this came out before the announcement of their Formula One partnership, right? So maybe this was them this Gucci automobile, them teasing that, but obviously this car doesn't exist. So like I said, these are just a bunch of pseudo adverts that they've essentially given us that was also at Times Square during the show as kind of this idea of capitalism and a commentary on capitalism, essentially. But anyway, let's look at the show. Let's look at the show because you guys get the point. Even now already, this is the show. You can see the Gucci Aqua advert on Times Square in the corner already. So you'll start to see a lot of those adverts on the runway and around Times Square as you watch the show. You'll start to notice quite a few of those Gucci adverts. But anyway, this show is very, from a collection standpoint and from a clothing standpoint, it's very similar to a lot of the clothing he's done in the past collections. Like I said, this is more about characters. So for example, in the earlier part of the runway show, there were a lot of these looks where you saw people wearing different kinds of tailoring and different suits. That of course is a commentary on the men in suits on the subway that are normally rushing to work and how they dress. So here you can start to see a lot of the suits. A lot of the women who are lawyers in New York, they wear heels and suits. A lot of the men, they wear their backpacks with their suits. So it really is just a commentary on the way that people exist day to day in New York and how the average New Yorker dresses. I'd love to see the clothing up close because I know Demna always has these little nuggets about the clothing, but just looking at it, they do look like run-of-the-mill suits. There's nothing optically or visually that interesting about a lot of the tailoring other than the storyline of the archetypes, to be very honest. I do like this coat because the buttons are really nice. That was really nice. Luke says, archetypes is not a through line. It's a lazy, disingenuous way to disguise a lack of cohesion. I wouldn't say that this collection wasn't cohesive, though. I don't think it wasn't cohesive at all. I just think that it's the same idea for every single collection from Demna, it seems. Of course, there were other inspirations too that I think at this point we've seen a lot of designers use. You guys know me and references that are beaten into the ground. For example, Robert Longo's Men in the Cities. This is something that we've seen over and over and over again in fashion. So many people have referenced it, from people like Ras Simmons to Demna. But you guys know it's like a 1980s set of drawings of men and women in suits caught in like mid contortions, like they're dancing or falling or being shot or frozen. And a lot of designers like to reference that, especially when they have collections where there's some form of tailoring. Is it innovative? No. Is it revolutionary? No. Is it even remotely creative? Not really, because of how many people have used it. But I do like the through line of the show, the whole character thing. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. I feel like the women's looks are way better than the men's looks in this collection. I totally agree with you on that. I feel like many brands have archetypes they represent without needing to spell it out for the viewers so much. Fair enough. I feel sad that NYC fashion kind of became more sweats and lacking color, but that's the era we're in. Is that true though? Because every time I go to New York, I don't know, I see people dressing crazily in a positive way, just like wearing really insane things, wearing all kinds of color. So I don't know if that's the case. I don't live in New York though, so if you're a New York native, you would know better than me. But I go to New York at least 4 times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, and every time I go, I think New Yorkers, they dress with personality. If I'm going to be honest, I feel like just through styling you can pull off this archetype story, but the pieces themselves have nothing interesting going on. So I wouldn't say the pieces aren't interesting though. There were a lot of pieces like the shearling jacket. I thought that was really nice. I liked how with the footwear, and you know me and Demna and footwear. I think he just has a really strong team when it comes to footwear. To be honest with you, I like that they did those boots with the horse bits. I think those are really going to sell. Those are really really cool. I don't know. All the shilling stuff he's done, I really like. I think the styling for a lot of the accessories could be improved because the accessories are a lot better than the runway styling sometimes gives it credit for. So that's an issue. And then they do this thing, right? Let me run it back slightly. So normally this yellow dress with the pussy bow blouse sort of thing going on, this is actually quite a nice dress, but it's made gaudy with that massive Grosgrain Gucci belt on the waist. So once again, sometimes the styling lets it down. At least to me, this is all about. It's not fact. It's personal taste, to be honest. By the sound of Demna's show notes last letter, it sounded like this might be the culmination of his explicit character study, and I hope that means future shows will have more narrative. I guess Demna would tell you though that this has that is what the narrative is, which it is, to be fair. Um, but yeah, I don't know. These looks here are supposed to represent the New York skate kids, the streetwear kids in New York. That's what these looks are supposed to represent. I also want to know why anytime Demna depicts these streetwear characters, even in, his debut, even though it wasn't his debut, it was his third collection. But in that collection, a lot of the people were sagging, like in those streetwear looks, they were sagging. And I wonder if he's ever going to speak about that or have a commentary on like, why they are sagging, especially in a luxury context. It's just, I find it strange. Someone says, I really like the red fur coats with the flowers on the inside. Yeah. The characters are caricatures of people based on a narrow European view, Snore. Going back to his character collection for Vetements, where one of his characters was homeless, driving me nuts. Fair enough. Fair enough. My take on Demna now is that dude is like the broken record. He needs to widen his visual and philosophical vocabulary very, very soon. I'm definitely with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. I'm very with you on that. Does Kang not realize the overall effect that the kind of vulgarity present in the clothing and presentation is going to have on Gucci's long-term reputation? Nobody at Kering is thinking rationally. I don't know though, because ultimately you need to think financially. Kering, how many quarters in a row was Gucci's revenue down on a comparison basis to the previous year's quarter? So for them, they've tried everything. They tried to do quiet luxury with Sabato De Sarno. It didn't necessarily work. They got rid of Alessandro Michele, which I think they got rid of him too early, and they were suffering from that. So now they're like, the last frontier is to get our superstar designer from Balenciaga and hope that he fixes things. Now, one thing I will say about Demna, because there's one thing about talking about the narrative of the runway shows and how valid that is. I think it's also another thing talking about the products he makes and are they desirable and will people actually wear them? Because me personally, like Micah has bought some of Demna's Gucci stuff. I've bought some of Demna's Gucci stuff. So he still makes products that you want to buy. Like he still makes it's still like if I was a woman, for example, those Tom Ford pump heels with the horse bit, I probably would have bought those. If I was a woman, I would probably buy the boots with the horse bit. If I was a woman, there quite a few bags I'd probably buy. A few dresses I'd probably buy. So it's there. It's just when you look at the runway show and you see these really boring menswear looks and you see men sagging and it's supposed to be a commentary on the way people dress in the city. I don't know, it's a bit weird visually, but there is stuff there. I'm not going to pretend like there isn't stuff there. A super skinny suits are back, so there's a commentary on that back again, like the last show, 100%. Love Muscle is always sagging jeans, even in the Under Armour Balenciaga show. Yeah, I remember that show. I remember that show. He's starting to remind me of Eddie with the stagnant designs. So I think I'm not mad at people having stagnant designs. I think there's just a way of doing it. Like, I don't have an issue with Eddie Slimmon's aesthetic. Even if he does it 10 seasons in a row, I just like the aesthetic. So I don't have an issue with it. Even if he does it over and over again. Yoji does the same thing over and over again. I think why with Demna it's so apparent is because he keeps saying, I don't do the same thing, or I don't do gimmicks. If he didn't say those things, I think him doing the same thing over and over again would land a lot better. Because Yoji Yamamoto doesn't come out and say, oh, I don't do the same thing. Or, Eddie Slimon has never come out and said, I'm not doing the same thing. You people just don't understand, blah, blah, blah. Like, Eddie Slimon has never said that, right? So I think also he can be his worst enemy at times with things that he says publicly. That's definitely a thing. Kang doesn't want to go through another scenario where a superstar designer's aesthetic rules the brand because the brand inevitably crashes and burns when that designer leaves. Yep, we've seen that with Tom Ford. We've seen that with Alessandro Michele. And now we're probably going to see it with Demna after he leaves. So I do think a strategy of creating a design framework that future designs will have to work within to meet the existing Gucci customers is a smart move. I don't know if that's the right strategy though, because ultimately, like I've been talking about Mathieu Blasy's Chanel, for example, and I don't think Mathieu Blasy is necessarily designing within a framework. It's just Chanel has certain house codes, like using tweed and doing certain things, and so long as you hit that, you can kind of do whatever you want. And I think Gucci should just have stronger house codes, and maybe hopefully Demna can build those out. So any designer that comes after. Because even stuff like this, for example, where Demna is really, really using this Gucci Flora print over and over again. And I actually like every time he uses it. Every piece I've seen him make with the Gucci Flora print, I think is actually really good. Like, this is a really nice coat. I actually like the shape of it. What do you think Kering does next if Demna doesn't succeed, which is likely? I don't know. I think he's going to succeed. What does Kering do next? That's a good question. I mean, I think, first of all, one thing that Kering is doing is Kering has invested heavily in Saint Laurent and they've invested heavily in Bottega Veneta. The reason why they're doing that is because they don't want Gucci to be because Kering is essentially the Gucci company. And when Gucci suffers, Kering suffers. When Gucci does well, Kering does well. They want to rely a lot less on Gucci as a brand for their overall revenue. So I started to see them ramping up Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent has been growing slightly. Bottega obviously has seen insane levels of growth in recent times. Balenciaga, that was growing, but under Pier Paolo, I don't know what's going to happen with Balenciaga, so let's just not talk about that. So I think really Saint Laurent and Bottega Veneta are the two brands that they are focusing on to shorten the gap between those brands and Gucci so they're less reliant on Gucci. So I think that's honestly long term what they're doing anyway. I have a question. What do people want to see from Gucci? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm curious on what guys in the chat. What do you guys want to see from Gucci and specifically Demna's Gucci? What are you guys expecting? Also, L, good point. Yoji does Yoji at Yoji, but Demna is doing Demna at Gucci. Fair enough. I think people will always want Gucci to be like the Tom Ford era. But is that true though? Because Gucci saw historically the best performing Gucci ever was under Alessandro Michele. When their revenue figures were at the height of Gucci that they're trying to get back to, that was under Alessandro Michele. So we can say that, people want Tom Ford at Gucci, but statistically, that's not necessarily true because they made the most revenue under Alessandro Michele, and ever since he's left, it's been downhill since then. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I think the people of Gucci have convinced themselves that that's the case, but I don't know if that's true. What do you think about the casting of these huge celebrities as models? Is it just for marketing or is there some commentary? I think it's both. So I think one is marketing, obviously, because it's Times Square, it's in New York, you have people like Tom Brady walking like a Robocop in the runway show. That's always going to essentially have eyeballs. I think it's also a commentary on how New York is as a city anyway. New York is a city that you see celebrities at very day-to-day places. Like people see celebrities on the subway, people see celebrities walking on the street. So I definitely think there's a commentary there, mixing in celebrities just on Times Square, because it is the kind of place that you could see a celebrity just walking past on a random Wednesday. So I definitely think there is a commentary there. Someone, Satan Lucifer said, I never even really cared for Tom Ford's Gucci. Okay, that's interesting. I'm definitely a big fan of Tom Ford's Gucci. I just think that you can't necessarily say that people want Tom Ford Gucci so much when Gucci's best financial performance of all time has been under Alessandro Michele. You know what I mean? Um, what's the reasoning behind the flowers? It's just the Gucci code. So Gucci has all these different prints. Their most famous prints being the Gucci Flora prints, which obviously have a lot of flowers and stuff. So it's kind of a Gucci house code to have flowers printed on garments, people holding flowers, flower motifs on accessories. It's just a Gucci code, essentially. Okay, let's see what Luke says. For Gucci, I want to see sexy, desirable clothes, some color, but some sharpness in the tailoring. Clothes that feel considered and are complexly designed to be seductive and frivolous. Okay, that's fair enough. So one thing about Demna, the reason why I've never seen Demna clothing as sexy, or I don't think Demna is ever going to be a designer that you go to for sexy silhouettes, is his silhouettes are too baggy. I think designers that have the most sexy, in that sense, clothing are designers that sculpt around the body perfectly. So people like, I don't know, Azadine Alaya, designers like that. Or I'm trying to think. Because Mugler was sexy, but Mugler, his work was sexy, veering on like almost too far sexy in a sense. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Um, I'm trying to think of who else is like a very sexy designer that does it really well. Um, I mean, yeah, Peter Mulier too, but Peter Mulier is still a bit more laid back compared to Azadine Alaya. His silhouettes are a bit further away from the body. They're a bit wider. They're a bit looser than Azadine Alaya himself. Yeah, kind of what Luke is saying. Mugler was a bit too draggy and too costume, exactly. So even though it's sexy, it's still like almost too far off the edge. So that's the thing about Demna. I don't think Demna can do sexy, and I don't think that's his strength in a way. But either way, I feel like anyone can make anything sexy. It's how you wear it, and it's your aura, and it's your energy. To be honest, someone can wear something really baggy and make it look sexy. It's just styling. We also have a very typical Demnaism with this show. At the end, the looks are these expertly made sort of couture level gowns that he's been doing since the start of his time at Balenciaga. Typical Demnaism. Typical. Let's go back to the adverts. Let me see what guys are saying. I liked his spring summer 26 because it was sort of, if you get it, you get it. This continues this, but with less passion, less innuendo. Yeah, I totally agree, because I think the thing about, let's say, spring summer 26 is that with spring summer 26, I think what was really, I guess, strong about it were the characters seemed a lot more fun and more interesting, and had all these funky names like the prima donna and all these kind of things. It was, the character development was actually really fun, and accompanied with that campaign film that they did that really spoke more about the characters, that built on the story. Whereas I think a Times Square version of doing characters where it's like, okay, there's people wearing suits because on New York subways we see people wearing suits, or we see the Gucci customer in New York that wears boots and a nice mini skirt on a night out. Like, that's too on the nose, and it's a bit too obvious for it to be remotely interesting. Yeah, here again we have a reference that people have beaten into the ground, like I was saying earlier, in terms of Robert Longo. Yeah. This is a reference I've seen so many designers do, honestly. Let's see what you guys are saying. There's a lot of comments. Oh my god. People are engaged today. People have a lot to say. It looks like things we've seen already in the early 2000s. I would much rather see Gucci by Martine Rose or Wells. That's fair enough, because they would bring something new to the table, other than something, I guess, that's not so familiar in a sense. Same for Eddie. For Celine, he never used celebrities either, and that was the highest selling Celine too. Maybe very rarely. Yeah. That definitely was the highest selling Celine. I think when he does those body fit looks, it looks sexy, like that woman with the white shorthand black pants. Sometimes. Because Demna also, when Demna does the sexy thing, he does it, he does those looks where everything is really tight, and so it looks like you're wearing like a Lululemon one size coverall, if that makes sense. And that's not really, I don't, obviously sexy is subjective, but that's very strippery, for lack of a better term. It's not, I don't know, like, my idea of what sexy is, maybe it's just different to a lot of people, and like I said, it's subjective, but I don't really find some skin tight polyester coverall that sexy, to be honest. I just think it looks cheap. And I don't associate cheap looking things with being sexy personally. So yeah. I'd personally want less of the trashy, unclean nouveau riche stuff that just isn't aspirational enough to bring any real growth to the brand and make it more fun and just a little class. Yeah, that's essentially what I was alluding to. Sorry, 2025 revenue was almost 6 billion and profit almost 1 billion. Still doing well, but that was a 40% decrease in profit year on year. Yeah, but like I said, let me bring up the stats of I'm gonna find out the peak revenue figures during Alessandro Michele's time at Gucci. One second. Okay, so as Alessandro Michele's peak annual revenue at Gucci reached a record 10.5 billion euros in 2022. So there we go. So Gucci has never reached, since 2022, they have not reached 10.5 billion euros. So There we go. There we go. They've been struggling to hit that number once again. Meanwhile, a lot of their competitors like Louis Vuitton, like, I don't know, Chanel, like Hermes, they continue to see growth regardless. They just always see growth. It's actually quite insane. They just always see growth. Always, always. Someone saying, I would love a Maximilian Davis Gucci. That would be interesting. I think that would be Sabato de Sano 2.0, but more interesting. And done better, if that makes sense. A lot of the Primavera show looks that I saw people wear to this cruise show look bad on the non-model crowd. Fair enough. Fair enough, fair enough. Maximilian needs to stay comfy at Ferragamo. That's interesting. So the bodycon stuff is not really for me, personally. I'm not really the biggest fan of the bodycon stuff, especially when it's in that polyestery looking fabric. I'm just not a fan of it at all. It just looks like the kind of thing that you would buy from Lululemon or Aloe or Skims, not a luxury brand like Balenciaga or in this case, Gucci. So I think that's my main issue with it, to be honest. Skin tight polyester is one of the least tactile sexiness. I feel like you're sparing Demna a proper reading. Not necessarily. You guys know I don't really, like, on these streams, I don't really give Demna a pass. And I say this, I actually think that Demna, and it's funny, I say this every single stream. I think that one, Demna is one of the most important designers of this generation. Two, I think he's a really good designer. I think Demna is what happens when a very, very talented designer is around too many yes men. I think that's basically what happens with Demna, where people just like, yeah, it's good, it's good, it's good. No constructive criticism. No one with like interesting ideas to develop his ideas a bit further and to make it deeper than surface level interpretations of things. I just think that's what the issue is, personally. And I think when he was earlier in his career, earlier at, whether it's late at Vetements or at Balenciaga, I just personally think that he had more interesting things to say. At Vetements, for example, he was making commentaries on the Georgian War. He was making commentaries on communism. He was making commentaries on immigration. Obviously, he was a refugee himself. It was just, the themes were deeper, more layered, more interesting. Now it just seems like this is how people wear Gucci in New York. It's just not the same. It really is not the same. And as someone that's been following Demna from the exact start, from the early days of Vetements, there's like, you can clearly see the difference. Like, there's a quite obvious difference. So I think that's my issue personally. I just think he's not necessarily developing per se as a designer conceptually. But I still think, regardless of all of that, he makes really desirable products, and that's why I buy his Gucci. And that's why Micah buys his Gucci, and a lot of other people I know buy his Gucci and bought his Balenciaga when he was there. So yeah. Let me just go through some of these looks, have a look. All this sagging, baggy pants once again. Oh my gosh. The cap worn backwards. Denim on denim. All this kind of stuff. What do you guys think about some of the footwear, like the Icon sneakers? I know I made a short video about it. I'm curious to know what you guys think about some of the footwear. Let me go on the Gucci designers page. Yeah, this is for people that don't know, this is the head of sneakers for Gucci. I don't really know how to say her name. Bionic, I guess. But I always like going on their page because they have all the new like projects that they're working on, including the Gucci designs. So this is the new sneaker that came from this collection. This is the Icon sneaker. This sneaker reminds me of... This is the kind of sneaker that you would see African or Asian, rich Indian or African, especially Nigerian uncles wearing in London. This is the kind of shoe they wear. This is quite literally like the rich Indian or Nigerian uncle shoe, like straight up. And I think I actually saw that was one of the reference points, actually. So yeah, this is the new sneaker that they're working with. A lot of people like them. Some people didn't like them, to be honest. I've tried on some of the footwear at the Gucci store and they're incredibly comfortable and the leather quality is super good. The clothes on there. Fair enough. And I guess that's really important because what sells tends to be the footwear and the accessories. So ultimately, that is what's more important for Gucci's bottom line, and that's probably where a lot of the development and time has gone into. The fact that they don't have a viral sneaker is surprising. I think they do, you know. What are these, let me go on the Gucci website. Those flat loafers, I've forgotten what they call them. To be very honest, I see them a lot. A lot of people have bought those loafers. I need to see... What are they called again? Totally forgotten. Maybe they'll be under loafers on the website. Yeah, these. They're called the ragazzo loafer. These here, I've seen so many people wearing these. So maybe they're not viral in the sense of they're not getting trillions of views on TikTok a month. But in terms of what I see on the street, I genuinely see so many people wearing these in London. So I think this is I guess the closest thing that they've come to some sort of a viral shoe, because they're not really a sneaker, but a viral shoe, you can call it. I like that they're leaning away from coated canvas monogram again. Fair enough. Is the craftsmanship on par with Anderson's Dior Bottega? It's the one thing to create styles, but the quality is not there. Well, first of all, it's definitely not going to be on par with Bottega. That's just not going to happen. Dior, people in the chat, you're going to have to help me out with that one, because I don't have a lot of experience with JW Anderson's Dior up close, the way I do with Bottega. And like Bottega, I go to all the Reese's. I've seen all the Bottega collections under Louis Trotter up close. I felt all the garments, every single one. So I'm very, I'm locked in when it comes to Bottega quality. But in terms of JW Anderson's Dior, I don't really know. Also, these sneakers, a lot of people have been talking about them. They're sort of a hybrid between a high top smart sneaker and a basketball sneaker. These are also sneakers that people have really liked. This is from the previous show. People have been talking about that. There's also who's the guy that does Bastien Board. He's the menswear designer at Gucci. He's also really cool. So he's been a person designing all these super long ass looking exaggerated toe loafers and shoes and all that sort of stuff, right? At Balenciaga. So this, for example, is called the Giovanni loafer. This is from Gucci Primavera. This is a sort of a snakeskin version, once again. So yeah, the team from Balenciaga was brought to Gucci, and to be honest, that's really strong team. So I expect consistent good footwear from the team. Someone says the shoes are making me sick to my stomach. I actually don't mind if he does some baggy stuff. Just beautify it, recontextualize it, not just copy paste. Fair enough. Yeah, Anderson's accessories are really good. I will agree with you there. And I like what Celine and JW Anderson are doing, kind of making silk scarves popular as a styling thing. The whole, old emblem as a belt logo. Celine and Dior have been doing that. I like that as an aspect also. What do you guys think about these sort of ultra pointy shoes? I'm just curious what you guys... Obviously, they do look like clown shoes. But worn with the right thing, I've actually seen these style of shoes look quite good, to be fair, funny enough. His wardrobe is so interesting. Obviously, all these designs that he's designed at Balenciaga and obviously now Gucci. It's got the Balenciaga motorcycle boots in the corner. This is a lot of Balenciaga grails. Fair enough. Even the shoes that were famous at Alessandro Michele's era. What are they called? The Princetown or the Princeton loafer? I always get them mixed up. Are they Princetown or Princeton? Let me Google it. Okay, Princetown loafers. Yeah. So what they've done, because the toe box of the original Princetown loafers were curved, they've made it more boxy. So that's interesting. So the front is flat now instead of curved. I'm not a fan of that style of elongated shoe. And it's been long enough we can admit Kim Jones is better than JW. It depends who you speak to. So I don't know why there seems to be this competition between Chanel and Dior, even though I don't know who created that narrative. I personally prefer Chanel to Dior, not that it's a competition. I don't think JW Anderson's Dior is necessarily has spoken to me yet, especially on the menswear side. I would definitely say if we're talking about menswear, I definitely prefer Kim Jones's Dior menswear to JW. But I think when it comes to women's wear, I think JW takes that, to be fair. I think he definitely takes that. I love them, but I love a bizarre shoe silhouette. Flat and slender now, bulky and oversized 2 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Alessandro had 5 days to do his first Gucci show and produced two of his highest earning products, the Princetown loafer and the Dionysus bag. Demna hasn't generated anything like those yet. True, true. Because the Princetown loafer was like viral. That was. And the Dionysus bag too, actually. So, yeah, that is correct. He's yet to produce that one item that just trumps where when people think of Demna's Gucci, people think of like those specific products. We haven't done that yet. Because, when people think of Demna's Balenciaga, they think of, what do you think of? You think of the Triple S. You think of those sock sneakers. You think of the runners, all the different iterations and variations and sizes and thicknesses. You think of the Gucci hack. You think of the just wide silhouettes in general. You think of some of the couture looks, the gowns. You think of... I mean, there's certain products I really like when it comes to Demna's era of Balenciaga. For example, those Balenciaga shaped, like cocoon shaped puffer jackets. I think those are really cool. Taking Balenciaga silhouettes and recontextualizing that based on what the Balenciaga client wears in the modern day, which is things like puffer jackets and things like that. So there's like some cool items that I can talk about forever when it comes to Demna's Balenciaga. But I think when it at Gucci that we haven't found one of those yet, for sure. As a size 10 where I leave the long shoe for the size 8 and under. Yeah, that's the thing. I wear a US men's 12. So my feet are already boat. So I don't wear, like, I can't wear shoes that are long because my feet are already long. So it just makes my shoes look even longer. And it just looks weird. So yeah, those shoes are definitely not for big feet to men like me, for sure. They're definitely for a size 4, a size 5, those kind of sizes. Okay, Bastian, we're trying to look at shoes. Not you in a towel, even though I'm a big fan of your work. So yeah, that's the footwear. One thing about Demna is his designs tend to have the occasional sense of humor. Don't know how that sensibility translates to Gucci with a shoe like this. No, I appreciate Demna's sense of humor through the clothing, to be honest. I'm quite a fan of it. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, also. I got the Martin Rose Nike Shocks and yeah, size 13. The Martin Rose Shocks are long looking, like the toe box is kind of pointy, but they're not so bad that, you know, you can't wear it, you know, if you have big feet. Like some of these Demna Gucci shoes, genuinely, you can't wear them. You're going to look like you're wearing clown shoes if you have big feet and you wear them, to be fair. So, yeah. Oh, God. It's also so funny, like, how people are making memes of Tom Brady. Like, why does he walk like that? He walks so stiff. I don't know if it's just because being an NFL player, he just has too many muscles in the way. But why does he walk so stiff? I've never seen someone walk that stiff in my entire life. He genuinely walks like a robot. Like, it's actually quite insane. He walks like if you ran into him, you would fall to the ground and he would be standing. Like, if I was running at speed and I bumped into him, I would go flying and he would just be walking normally. He walks so stiff. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll just grab the shocks in red too, and they do look pretty huge in a men's 11 US. Fair enough. It gives the Terminator when he walks, yeah, facts. Still confused why Demna casted Brady out of everyone else in the NFL. I guess because Tom Brady is the most famous American football player of all time and the greatest. So I guess if you want to, you know, cast an NFL player, why not cast the most famous one? I guess. That's probably the reason why. Brady has permanent shoulder pads built in. That's hilarious. Dude walks as if the fit was starched 10 times. Exactly. It's just funny. It's like, why does he walk like that? What I want to do though, I do want to go on their website and see some of the prices of a lot of their new stuff. And I put it in the US store, so it's in dollars. For my Americans in the chat right now, because most of my audience is those from the stateside. But yeah, these shoes are really the shoes I've seen sell the best. At least the ones that I see people wearing on the streets. This ragazzo loafer. But I'm curious to see. Let's see some of the women's wear stuff. Let's see some of the ready to wear. Okay. Silk jacquard shirt. Is that 100% silk or is that just very Alessandro Michele with the pussy bow blouse sort of vibe? Very, very Alessandro Michele. Okay, at least it's 100% silk. I'm not mad at it. Um, let's see. Okay, a lot of silks. Silk skirts, silk shirts. That's good. That's good. A silk tweed shirt, jersey swimsuit. Yeah, this is where Gucci makes their money. $5 worth of fabric. The the profit margins on stuff like this is outrageous. 820 is outrageous. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with it being 820 because it's a luxury brand. It's in line. That things have to be priced in line with all their other products. It's just funny that people actually buy stuff like this. And it's 77% polyester, 23% elastane. That's a bit of a steep price, mate. A lot more silks, silk twill. The pussy bow stuff is really nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you just want something where you kind of look a bit chic, but you throw it on without thinking, a lot of these pussy blow shirts are a good choice, to be honest. Silk shirt, that's kind of cool. Just a nice shirt, but instead of cotton, it's silk. Do you know what it is? So this kind of stuff is the stuff that is the kind of thing that Tom Ford would make. These sort of, jersey bodysuits. But I think the world building with Demna's Gucci isn't there for, I think, a lot of people to want to buy those bodysuits. I don't think women feel like, and women in the chat, because I don't want to speak for women, like, let me know what you guys think. I'm just curious, like, do you think that Demna's world building has been strong enough to make you want to buy into this sort of sexy Tom Ford, uh, jersey bodysuit Gucci vibe? I don't personally think so, but I'd like to know what the women in the chat have to say. Blasi Chanel feels super wearable and less groundbreaking, but somehow it's a seismic shift. JW Anderson's Dior guns for that commercial quality and makes a run for the money. Fair enough. Before it was, it's a satirical / ironic commentary on the rich. Now it's Gucci, so that's on brand. Okay, culture says absolutely not. Fair enough. This is kind of cool. A plain jersey top, but just with the horse bits. This is a cool way to take a really basic product. Because I always think of how are things going to do commercially, and it's things like this that are going to sell in droves, right? The rich girl who's like, I need a vest for the summer. Walk into the Gucci store, they find the one with the horse bits, and they buy this. And it's very recognizable to their friends when they go out in the summer that it's a Gucci piece. I think that's a good way to commercialize something very basic. Not that, if I was a woman I would buy it, but I think it's a good way to commercialize stuff. Even this is a cool proposition of a tracksuit, right? Because I think tracksuits look too casual a lot of times and they're not suitable to wear in a lot of different settings. But when it's sort of a polo shirt two-piece, like this, it kind of looks more chic. Even though it still is fundamentally a tracksuit, it's a two-piece. And you wear it with, I like the styling here, you wear it with heels or pumps or kitten heels or, boots. And it kind of looks a bit more chic. It's cool. It reminds me of the Y Project tank. Oh, yeah. Malibu mum. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I work at Bloomingdale's in New York City, and Chanel is selling like hotcakes. It's always packed with clients. Oh my god! Let me just talk about Chanel quickly, and then we'll go back to Gucci. So, I've been doing a lot of coverage about a lot of the frenzies at the Chanel drops. When I was in Paris for Fashion Week, they dropped the collection. There were insane queues. Obviously, they had their Bond Street launch of the Métier d'Art collection yesterday. That had a lot of queues. And people in my comment section are always saying that I've been paid by Chanel and that this is made up and that it's a PR push. And the only people buying it are industry insiders and influencers that have been paid to talk about it. Which, one, doesn't make sense because Chanel doesn't even pay people. Chanel really does not pay people. So that's out the window. Secondly, quite literally, like, I don't know why people think it's fake. Like, people are obsessed with Mathieu Blasi Chanel. I don't think people understand, to be honest. When I can make a flippant, ironic statement on previous worlds, I guess I don't need a new one. Fair enough. But yeah, going back to the Chanel talk. So it's just one of those things where I don't know why people don't like Mathieu Blasi or they don't want to believe in Mathieu Blasi Chanel. I don't really know what that's about, to be honest. There's someone at my doorstep slamming on the doorbell, but I've got to stream. They have to wait or they have to call me if they have my number. I think Chanel looks great. I've never really been a Chanel girl, but I've wanted a few pieces from his collections. Yeah. Especially the footwear. What is really flying at Chanel and the bags, because they have that new flat bag design. But outside of that, it's a lot of the pumps are really good. They're really, really good. Someone said it's Demna, open up. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Why is IO streaming at the same time as the Summer Game Fest? Fair enough, because the fashion audience don't care about stuff like that. Um, but anyway, so yeah, the Chanel thing, I don't know what it is. I don't know why people don't want to believe that it's selling. I know what it is. I'm going to contradict myself. I know what it is. When Blasey first joined Chanel, and Blasey's whole job at Chanel, at least from my perspective, is to usher in Chanel and make it sexy for a younger demographic. So I'm talking millennials who essentially are going to be the most important customers right now. They are the people that are going to have the buying power. And then, of course, Gen Z, who are in the next generation going to be the ones with the buying power. So Mathieu Blazy is essentially the designer that ushers in that customer base. So Chanel stays relevant and continues to grow. That's his job. So you had a lot of devout Chanel customers who have been Chanel customers for 40 plus years, 50 plus years. They always buy the couture collections. They are the people that buy the $100,000 tweed jacket, all the time. So those people are the people that, I guess from their perspective, they were like, this is not Chanel. This is not true Chanel. I don't like the Chanel. And I think those are the people that are Mathieu Blazy's detractors, or, they don't believe in Mathieu Blazy's designs, I guess, in a way. Um, so yeah. One second, let me answer this phone call. I think the person who was ringing on the doorbell actually does have my number. One second. Okay, back to the stream, guys. Okay, so let's go. Let me see what you guys are saying. Demna's Gucci bores me to death. Damn. By the way, what is it? What is the within industry opinion on ERD? Oh, God, not ERD. So I think ERD, there's a specific customer for ERD. That person is just not me. So I'm definitely not the ERD customer. I think ERD is it's one of those brands, it's derivative of so many brands that I'm aware of. So ERD is like very derivative of things like I don't know, Chrome Hearts, for example. A lot of the products that they make is very Chrome Hearts ripoff. They try to be edgy, but I don't think that they're that edgy. I think the people that wear ERD tend to be weirdos. Not everyone, but I would say 80% of ERD wearers are really strange. Like really, they're the kind of, I mean, it's even in the name, right? Depressed rich kids, enfants rich deprimé. Um, the whole concept of the brand is just terrible, in my opinion. I think the people that wear it tend to be weirdos. They tend to, like that recently they dropped this loafer that's called the racist uncle loafer, trying to be edgy, but it's just weird. I don't care for the brand at all. Have they made products that I've thought have been decent? Yes, sometimes. But for the most part, I just think the brand is just terrible. I don't care for the brand. I don't like the brand. I don't like the people that wear the brand for the most part. I don't think anything that they make is interesting. And I think that everything that they make, I can find a better version at another brand, whether that's at Chrome Hearts or whether that's at, any other brand, to be honest. So yeah, but I think from an industry insider point, if I was to think of my other friends that are journalists or critics or content creators, most of them don't like ERD. Most of them just think ERD is weird, and the people that wear ERD are weirdos. They also tend to be like really racist, especially the white kids that wear. There's a certain kind of white kid from LA that wears ERD that's like racist and probably sexually assaults women and all this kind of thing. I don't like every time I think of the LA white kid that wears ERD, it's just I just think of an abuser. I don't know why. They just look they just look like they treat people badly. I don't know how to put it. People probably know what I'm talking about. People in the chat probably know what I'm alluding to. Yeah, Andre Melemeister does the aesthetic a lot better, and they don't do the weird edgy thing, right? So that's the thing. But yeah, ERD is just no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Where do you even find those ERD wearing people? London, New York, LA. LA is the main one. I haven't seen more people wear ERD personally than in LA. LA is where I see it the most. I'm not sure. You guys in the chat, maybe you guys see it in other cities too that I'm not too privy to, but let me know. Let me know. I'm curious to know what you guys are talking about in the chat. Like, okay, ERD customers are, and that's why I said it's not every single ERD customer, right? Because I'm trying to think of when there was a point in time of Vetements where people that were wearing Vetements were really insufferable. Like when you saw someone wearing Vetements, not the people that were wearing it earlier on, because they were just into like the concept of it and the fact it was called fashion and all that sort of stuff. But there was a certain Vetements person that was just so insufferable. And I think ERD, the insufferable people that used to wear Vetements when I was younger, those are the people that wear ERD now. And the new generation of people that weren't around during that Vetements era, those are the annoying kids that wear ERD now, essentially. I think I'm the only person in Minnesota who even knows what ERD is. Oh my gosh. I think this chat skews older, but a lot of young fashion heads are ERD obsessed, especially every single Eddie wearing it now. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm a lot older. Like, I'm 28 years old, so I'm like the tail end of like old Gen Z, right? So obviously it's not for me. I definitely think ERD is for a younger demographic, but that's why I said when I was younger, it just reminds me of when I was younger, the insufferable people that used to wear that more. That archetype of person that's 16, 17, 18 for rich kid, they are now wearing ERD, because Vetements also when I was younger was super expensive, so the only way I could afford it was if I was reselling Supreme. And Vetements was so low on my list of priorities back then because I used to use all my money to buy Andemena Meister or Rick or Yoji mostly, or Y3 even. I'm literally in my bedroom. I can show you guys something. One second. Let me show you guys. Let's see. Okay, for example, this is one of the first jackets I ever bought. Like, this is a Y3 jacket. So this is the kind of stuff. This is a triple zip. I've had this jacket since I was like 17 and it still fits me. But this jacket here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Let me full screen. I just realized the screen is tiny. Of course you can't see it. Yeah, this Y3 triple zip jacket here. So back then, that's what I used to spend my money on, to be honest. And yeah, the richer kids, they would just wear Vetements, and they were so insufferable. I'm just thinking of the kind of person that used to wear Vetements back then. Random, but when looking in the tailoring section sites, why can you select the size if it's tailored? Because tailored just means like, sometimes tailored just means like a silhouette or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, anyway, guys, that is my soliloquy on Gucci and the whole Gucci collection. I just wanted to hop on live and kind of talk about it because I realized I haven't talked about it. And sometimes with these runway shows, I let them get away from me. And then by the time I'm like, okay, I have time to talk about it, it's too late. And obviously, once next season starts, I'm going to Pitti, then I'm going to Milan, and I'm going to Paris. And there won't be time to, look into all these things. So, yeah, headache, headache, headache. Let me see. I'll answer a few more questions. Then I have someone waiting for me outside. So I do have to wrap this stream up soon. What did I think of the CSM show? To be honest, I haven't really looked at it properly. Let me pull that up right now. CSM BA fashion. Yeah, I haven't really I haven't looked at it yet. I haven't seen a lot of content around it though. Normally, every year there's some designer that does something outrageous that everyone makes a video about, but I haven't really seen anyone really like make those reels this time around. I has actual roadman waiting outside for him. That's funny. Okay, you guys are talking about ERD. Fair enough, fair enough. Anyway, guys, I'll probably be back on stream maybe tomorrow, who knows? Talking about a different topic. Maybe we will be talking about Chanel. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for tuning in. Of course, if you want to watch it back, watch it back. If you want to watch these streams back, I always post them on Spotify. So if you have a Spotify account, definitely check that out. And if you are a YouTube channel member or on Patreon, expect some interesting content. I have like 5 videos planned that I've scripted. So expect some stuff coming. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next stream or the next video, who knows. But thank you very much everyone for tuning in.